Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us for our Lunch and Learn. We're excited to have a good conversation today around a case study for the Guardian building, which we all love. I'm Connie. I'm the Executive Director of Detroit 2030 District. And our speakers today are three of our professional stakeholders that we're very thankful for in our program that help bring our program to our members. I want to introduce Kendall Kuhneman, who is our program manager.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Kendall is going to be fielding your questions after we're done. We're going to let all three speakers speak, and then she'll field through the questions and answers. Go ahead, put those in the chat, and feel free to put your name and organization into the chat also. And we are recording, just to let you know. We have a great lineup of speakers today. I'm going to go through who they are, and then I'm going to give a quick update on 2030. So Sarah McNulty is with us today. She's the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Green Building Automation. Nick Theoret is Business Development for KODE Labs. And Diana Nash is the Technical Sales Manager from Energy Sciences. So thank you three for being here today and telling us about this wonderful program. We really wanted to have Shannon from the Guardian building join us today. I just realized I have to find her. I'm sorry, I don't have her little note. I'm going to get her quote together here. She sent us a testimonial about what these three have done to our program. So I'm gonna read that off in a little bit as soon as I find it. Sorry, my desk is a little messy. So I'm gonna go through this update real quick here though, and tell you a little bit about 2030. Most of you know about it, but I do see a couple names. I also want to say Peggy Matta, who's our founder and ex officio for our board, is here. So hi, Peggy. And
hi.
Give you a quick update. I see I got a double logo here, but we are one of 23 districts across North America. And we're proud to say there's 3 in Michigan: Grand Rapids, Ann Arbor, and Detroit. And we work closely together, obviously. We are part of a program that follows the 2030 District Architecture Challenge for planning for architects to reduce energy and water consumptions. We're trying to build a district of high performance buildings by reducing energy and water and transportation emissions. And across the country, or North America, we have 520 million square feet in our program. And our newest one is British Columbia, so, or Greater Victoria, I should say. Very excited about that. There isn't the correct one. Anyways, sorry about that. These are the 3 metrics that we've been working on. We launched 4.5 years ago, and this is the same 3 metrics we've always worked on. We may go about it a little differently in each district, but our goal is to reduce our citywide or district-wide metrics by 50% by the year 2030. So that's where it comes from. We're certainly not going to stop in the year of 2030. We're going to keep going and focus more on neutral, carbon neutral buildings and a carbon neutral district. There's Fred. So even though 2030 is in our name and we are connected to 2030 architecture, we're certainly going to go past that, right? We are a private-public partnership. We have 3 members. We have member types. We have building owners and managers who belong for free. They are who this program is for. We bring it to them to assist them with resources and education. Professional stakeholders are the businesses that support us, including the 3 that are here today. And then community stakeholders, who are the nonprofits that we team up with in Detroit. And you probably know many of them. We actually have about 40 of them that we are signed on to our program, and we work closely with about 8 to 10 of them. You probably heard of, EcoWorks and Michigan Interfaith Power and Light and Elevate Energy, and goes on. So I'm sure you know many of them, including the U.S. Green Building Council, Detroit chapter. We work closely with them too, especially in our soiree that we do every year. Currently, we have 34.5 million square feet in our program, 222 buildings. So we're really growing. We have 3 best practice groups. Many of you are on this call today that are in these groups. We have a venue museum, houses of worship, and multifamily. So if you have a building of that type, just let us know and we'll get you into our best practice group. in case you don't know, we are still running the Detroit Energy Challenge. It got stalled a little bit because of COVID. We launched it March 2000, what would that be, 19, when the COVID hit. We had our last meeting at TCF and launched it with this big hoopla, and then everything fell apart, right? But our building members, we're still encouraging them to track their energy and water through Energy Star Portfolio Manager with our help if they need it. Join the Michigan Battle of the Buildings and join this program here, and be eligible to receive awards next year in the spring. So keep that in mind. If you have any questions, let us know. In case you are a multifamily or a house of worship, we have a meeting at the end of this month for free. So let us know and sign up for that. And I think that's about it. Once again, these are the 3 districts in Michigan and how to get involved. And we have a very big, robust social media program and a great website with resources. So feel free to check that out. So I'm going to exit out of this, stop sharing. And we're going to go ahead and get started with our presenters today. And we're going to start with Sarah, Sarah, if you want to go ahead and try to share your screen. Once again, put your name in the chat box and your organization, as well as any questions.
Connie, it says host disabled, participant screen share.
Interesting. Let me try that again. 1 second. Okay, let me know if you see it. I just made you co-host.
Can you see my screen, Connie?
We can.
Perfect.
Yeah, just hit the presentation button and you'll be all set.
No problems. The presentation button's hidden behind all the Zoom buttons on the top.
Can you move us at all? I mean, it's fine if
there it goes. Okay.
Can't do that. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon during your lunch hour to learn a little bit more about the Guardian building and some of the improvements that we've been making through green building automation, KODE Labs, and energy sciences through the DTE Retro-Commissioning program. My name is Sarah McNulty, and I'm with Green Building Automation, and I am the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for the company. And we are very excited to be a part of the Detroit 2030 district and helping with the initiative to help commercial buildings become carbon neutral by 2030. So again, thank you all for being here today. So we serve the entire state of Michigan. Green Building Automation was established in 2008. Our headquarters office is in Plymouth, Michigan. We have another office in the west side of Michigan in Kalamazoo. And we also have an office in northern Michigan in Marquette. And we're also very proud to be a part of the 2030 district affiliations for Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Grand Rapids. And this helps us to serve the entire state of Michigan with our services, as well as support the 2030 initiatives. So as you all know, there are many different controls contractors out there in our market that serve the state of Michigan, just like we do. And what really differentiates us from a lot of our competitors is our full service approach to building automation. And what that means is that we perform all of these disciplines that you see here in-house with our own in-house teams. So for building automation, we design and engineer systems with our engineering team. They also provide very detailed and interactive drawings for the end user. It's for our field staff to help them properly install all the wiring and conduit and things that are needed to make sure that you have a fully operating system when the building is complete. We also self-perform all of our own installation and commissioning. We also perform HVAC controls and do off-site monitoring for very critical facilities that may need that 24/7 monitoring, having someone else's eyes on the building at all times. We also perform maintenance, service, and repair on the building automation systems. We do retrofits and upgrades for old outdated systems or obsolete systems. And we also provide custom graphics for our clients who have very mission critical facilities or have very detailed specific building operations that they really need to see some more detail on their graphics to determine what's happening with their HVAC system and building automation system in its entirety. So again, another big differentiator for us, unlike many of our other competitors, is we just don't provide HVAC and temperature controls. We provide many other services that really provide a lot more value to our clients and our owners. So we do provide the HVAC and monitoring, as I mentioned earlier. We also perform energy management studies. We do sub-metering for buildings that have leases with commercial buildings that have many tenants in the building, and they want to make sure that they're managing the meters on those particular tenants and billing them back accordingly. We also provide lighting controls in facilities, and that's become more and more popular today. We also provide fire alarm monitoring. We do security access control systems as well as surveillance. We perform data analytics through our partner KODE Labs, which you're going to be hearing more about from them today. And then as we're all meeting here today to learn more about the system integration that we have performed at the Guardian building to bring all these different systems into one very simple front end system that you can actually utilize through one computer screen and see what's going on with many various systems that are automated throughout your facility. So why should you partner with a systems integrator? Why is that important to you as a building owner or as a property manager, facility manager? System integration starts out with a very consultative approach. And through that approach, we typically start out with a system evaluation to determine what type of system you're currently operating with and find out whether or not there's obsolete items that may need to be replaced or upgraded. Then we start to plan and design for that particular system and design a new system and sequence of operations based on the facility's needs. We implement that plan. We validate the performance through the data analytics, and we give ongoing support to our clients throughout this process to make sure that they know how to operate their buildings the most effective and efficient way possible. Some other great benefits to the owner as well is you have one point of contact for all your building automation, whether it be for your HVAC and temperature control, your lighting control, your fire alarm system, or your security system. We can bring that all into one centralized system, so one computer screen that you look at to view all those systems together. It also allows for better project control to work with one company, and less finger pointing going on, better accountability, and really to help support the end user to make sure that they get exactly what their expectations were, making sure that we're meeting those expectations when the building is turned over. We also provide very detailed control drawings that are also interactive. And what I mean by interactive is that on our control drawings, you can actually click on different parts, materials, and pieces within the drawings, and that will actually take you to the web page that provides more detail on that specific piece or part or material to give you some more information as an owner to be able to purchase those parts as needed when repairs or replacements need to arise, and you're able to do that in-house. We also will help to save you time, money, and resources. Having one company coming in to pull all the cable and wiring for these multiple systems that I've been speaking about saves a lot of time on labor, and also saves a lot of money to reduce the labor costs, and also the resources for cabling and wire and things that may be necessary to run throughout the facility to make sure you have a fully operating building automation system. We work very closely with owners and to help develop a sequence of operations specific to their facility. We also work with them to develop custom graphics. We also integrate all those systems to work in unison to help optimize the total building's performance. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we're always working with the owners and the building engineers to provide that ongoing training and maintenance and support that they may need to make sure they're always knowing what little issues may be arising in their building automation system and how we can help them to overcome those. So now getting into more about the Guardian building and what we've done there. Here's just some fun facts about the Guardian building. I know everyone's pretty acclimated with it. It's a historic landmark in downtown Detroit. It was actually built in 1929. So as you can imagine, a building that was built in the 1920s has gone through many, many changes over the years. And that's why building automation is so important to always have an ongoing maintenance to look at that system and determine what may need to be changed or adjusted based on the needs and how the building is used today versus how it was originally commissioned back when it was built. It's owned by Wayne County, and they do occupy most of the facility as well as the Smith Group engineering firm. It's managed by 400 Monroe Associates in partnership with Beanstalk Property Management. It's a Class A office building. It's 662,000 square feet. And as I mentioned, it's also a National Historic Landmark, which is one of the highest honors given by the National Park Service. We're very proud to have this building in our downtown Detroit area and be a part of helping it to become more efficient and effective and reduce its carbon emissions and footprint. So here are some of the results that we had provided based on the system evaluation that we had given when we initially met with the property management company, as well as the building engineers in the facility, to determine what problems they're actually facing. So the first step in our evaluation process is to sit down with the property manager or the building engineers to find out what little problems that they're experiencing in the building and what issues are reoccurring that we can really help them to address. We can really bring them true value. So some of the problems that we had found with the Guardian building was that the building was operating with 4 different building automation systems. Some were proprietary, one of them was actually obsolete, and none of them were connected or communicating together, which, as you can imagine, leads to a lot of headaches for the folks that are actually managing and maintaining that facility. The building engineers had to be trained on how to use each of these different systems, and each one has different, intricacies and unique abilities about them that are very sometimes hard for some building engineers to grasp if they don't have the proper skill set, or maybe they just aren't as familiar with the different technology pieces that are out there in these platforms. And that can be very time consuming to train new employees specifically on how to use these different systems and how they all live in silos and don't really cohesively work together. Also, the building engineers had to log into each system separately while on site. So if they didn't need to look into an issue or make an adjustment to a particular suite or a particular floor within the building, each engineer had to log into the system, each separate system, to make those necessary adjustments. And they had to be on site in order to do so. There's no way to operate the building remotely or receive alarms remotely. So the building engineers, if something happened, they would receive an emergency call and have to come to the building and physically address what was going on in the facility. There was no system efficiency, as some of the HVAC equipment was still operating manually and it was not controlled by a building automation system. So the engineers actually had to physically go to that piece of equipment, turn it on and off, and things of that nature in order to get the system to work properly. And there was no data or trending for insights on facility operations and energy usage, which is really where the data analytics piece in KODE Labs comes in. A lot of the information that's so pertinent to operating that building efficiently and effectively, and really help to have a decrease in energy usage overall. So some of the solutions that we have provided for the particular Guardian building in this project is that we integrated the existing building automation system into a simple single front end platform. And it's an open protocol platform, meaning that's not proprietary to any specific manufacturer. So some of the proprietary systems out there, such as Trane, Johnson Controls, and Siemens, can only be serviced and repaired and maintained by those specific entities. Where an open protocol platform allows many different contractors in the area to service and maintain that particular system. We also provide them with a user-friendly front-end system. So it made it very easy. One training session, we really were able to cover quite a bit for the building engineers that are existing at the facility. And also it's very simple to train new users as well, as they hire new folks to run and manage and maintain the building. It also provides them with a single web and mobile app-based application for remote access. As I mentioned before, they did not have any type of remote access. They had to actually physically go to the building in order to make any adjustments or changes. And now they're able to simply pull up on their web browser, log into the system, and make those changes as they need to, right from the comfort of their own home, from their mobile phone, from their laptop. We've also provided them with scheduling and programming to help assist with the tenants that are in the facility. They all have different hours of operation in the building. And so they're able to provide scheduling on certain floors or specific suites for those certain tenants that they may need to provide certain accommodations for that are outside of normal business hours. It would also help them to make the building more efficient by integrating some of the existing HVAC equipment that they were operating manually. And we've been slowly bringing more of those pieces of equipment online onto the building automation system to help them provide better control. We help them to save money on their overall operating costs by helping to make the building more efficient and also reduce their energy consumption, as they're now able to look at data analytics to determine where peak demand times are, as well as where they can do load sheds and help them to really make some smart decisions and strategic decisions on how to better manage their facilities from an energy standpoint. And it also saves engineers a lot of time by providing automatic scheduling As I mentioned earlier, they're able now to schedule their tenants for different types of times and times that they're actually occupying the building. And maybe there's some folks in the building on certain floors, certain hours of the building, where hours of the day rather. And then other times there's maybe 1 or 2 floors that may be inoperable. So we make sure that we're help them to provide that automatic scheduling so they can make sure that they're able to run their building as most efficiently and as effectively as possible for their tenants, as well as to help reduce that overall energy consumption and cost. So that's basically a synopsis of what we have provided for the Guardian building. Here's our contact information. Scott Kaplan is our president. Jesse Bigelow is our vice president, who operates out of our Kalamazoo and Marquette offices. And my contact information is there for you as well. If you have any questions about building automation systems or system integration, or just looking for some additional resources and help, please feel free to reach out to me. That's my cell phone number and my email address. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to turn it over to Nick with KODE Labs to talk about the data analytics and what they've done to help to improve the building information that the property managers are getting over at the Guardian building to help them make more strategic decisions on how their building they're operating. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah. That was a great intro. I'm super happy to be on the call. Connie, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I think it's, there we go. Okay, let's try it now. All right.
Nick,
Yes.
before you start that, I just want to read what Shannon, the property manager, said about KODE Labs and building automation, or green building automation, as well as energy sciences. So Shannon is the property manager there of that humongous, beautiful building. I can't believe it was built in 1929. I just would have never thought that. But her testimonial is that their system was outdated. It didn't communicate together. I'm trying to find, they were adding new spaces and they just really needed help. They said that, she said, Green Building Automation and KODE Labs helped her change all of that, that they were able to take 4 major systems and integrate them into a single front end platform. Not only the building automation system improvement, but also helped with damper controls, pumps, and the like. And she said it was a game changer for the building engineers. She was glad that they're moving forward and the building engineers do not have to be in the building anymore to know what temperature it is, and they can access that from their mobile devices. Also wanted to mention that she really thought the help from Green Building Automation and the DTE RCX program that Diana Nash is going to talk about help them to optimize their performance and their utility consumption. So she's very happy with all 3 of your organizations working together.
And we're honored, by the way, to have the opportunity to work on the Guardian for many of the reasons that you mentioned, Connie and Sarah, right? It's old building, historic, and what a thrill, right? So I'm going to go through, who is KODE Labs. I'll try to, answer any questions as well about who we are right now. So who is KODE Labs, right? We're a company based out of Detroit. We're what you would call a smart building platform provider. And also we can be considered as a master systems integrator. We've got about 70 people on our team. We're a global company. We do work with property owners throughout the world, from anywhere from Australia, a lot of work in Canada, but we also do a lot of work here in Detroit. And we love to do work in Detroit as well because it's our hometown, right? So yeah, that's who we are. We often get the question, how do you pronounce it? Is it KODE? Is it KODE? It's pronounced KODE Labs. And so what are we doing at KODE Labs? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the problems that we see in the real estate space in general. And then I'll kind of converge that into what we're doing at KODE Labs specifically and for the Guardian building. So one thing that's very apparent in the real estate industry is that building systems are siloed. You heard Shannon's testimonial talking about it. In almost every building that we come across, there's a variety of different systems. Sometimes there's even 2 different BMSs in the same building. You'll have a Johnson Controls BMS, you have a Tritium BMS, and then you've got your lighting systems, and you've got your IoT sensors now that are becoming part of the game, right? And now I'll even throw on your third-party applications like your work order management systems, right? And if you're a property manager, that means you have to deal with like 5 to 6 to sometimes 10 different screens. And that's often what we hear. A lot of the customers, when we first talk to them about their space, they're super excited to tell us about their space, especially if they're a property manager, right? But then you can start to see the frustration about when they're walking us through their different dashboards about how hard it is to manage these things. And it's hard for the property manager. It's hard for their building operations team. And from a sales perspective, if you're trying to bring in new tenants as a property manager, it's also hard to communicate how good and competitive your space is. So again, buildings, real estate building systems are very siloed. That makes it hard to correlate, compare, and analyze these systems from a single space or from a single place. Then it also makes it hard to impose quality control standards on the building itself. Now, when you take a step back from a building and you look at an entire portfolio, what you start to realize is that it actually gets worse. And if you have multiple buildings that you're trying to compare and contrast against, it's terribly difficult to do, because one of your buildings will be one type of BMS, another building will be another type of system, right? And so you don't really have a single baseline. You don't have a standardized way to look at information across your different buildings. And so again, if I'm a portfolio manager, how do I impose quality standards across my portfolio? How do I know which building to invest in, right? What's the lowest hanging fruit? It's terribly difficult to do. And so that's where smart building platforms come into the picture. So what is a smart building platform? A smart building platform is any structure that integrates and normalizes information across all building systems to enhance the control strategies that Sarah was talking about during the presentation. Now, the key words here are integration and normalization. And I know there's a lot of press out there. There's a lot of marketing going on about smart building and machine learning and AI and these dashboards. And that's all great. But at the core, we have to build the framework to allow those types of features. And that starts with the integration piece and the normalization piece. So when it comes to the Guardian building, when it comes to any building, especially when it's a retrofit, it's an existing building, what we do at KODE Labs is we integrate every single building system together into this layer that we call the smart building platform layer. And by integrating all these systems together, we're able to apply a ontology that standardizes all the data. And so it doesn't matter what manufacturer, a piece of equipment is. It doesn't matter who the vendor that set up the equipment. If I'm a building operator for that building, everything looks the same. In some cases, we work with real estate owners that have buildings in Vancouver and Ottawa and Toronto, right? And by applying this technology across their portfolio, someone in Vancouver knows exactly what a building in Ottawa is going to look like when they open up their smart building platform, which operates also as the BMS front end. So we normalize all this information, we standardize it, and we take it up to the cloud where we can do some of those features I was talking about, right? The analytics, the processing, some functional testing of the equipment even, and then obviously some machine learning to make the building more efficient. So that's what we're doing at KODE Labs. And this is where we can get really granular about, combining even metering data, for instance, from the building and correlating that metering data back to which pieces of equipment are actually using up the most amount of energy. We can take a look at that on a floor by floor basis. We can do it on a equipment basis, right? And so by being able to correlate that information across the different building systems, it makes it really easy for a building owner, property owner, building operator to make the right decisions at the building level. So one example is peak demand analysis. When are we consuming the most amount of energy in the building? And then what's driving that energy consumption, right? And that's certainly something that we can do. And another one is, and this is where we're kind of going as well, is the ability to do some digital commissioning in a sense, right? So and that's by bringing all that information in and by putting in sequences to actually test that equipment within the platform. Now we can automate some of this commissioning and have it occur more frequently so that we make sure that building is always operating as efficiently as possible. And that also applies to just testing equipment in general, right? Instead of having someone walk out to every piece of equipment and test it manually, you can actually set up these tests within the platform and then run them on a schedule so that the building operator can actually focus on exactly what pieces of equipment they need to focus on to make sure the building is operating correctly. And then another example is using machine learning to optimize equipment schedules. This is actually something that we're implementing today, and we've had a lot of success with. So again, by normalizing the information across the building equipment, which also includes equipment schedules, then we can use all the data within the building to make those schedules more efficient. So that's data like your outdoor air temperature, your indoor air temperature, your indoor air quality, how good is the actual air within our building, your occupancy levels. This is by standardizing everything, we can actually repurpose the data from your lighting control system in some cases, because they have those occupancy sensors. Now, instead of just using that occupancy data to turn our lights on and off, we can actually repurpose that data, repurpose those sensors to turn on our HVAC, or to improve our machine learning based optimization models. And so in the cases of this right here, we've seen savings of 15 to 30% and a pretty good reduction in equipment runtime. And obviously, if you're reducing your equipment runtime, not only are you saving energy, but your equipment's also going to last a lot longer in the long run. So that's a quick overview of KODE Labs and what we do. And just to recap everything, right? A smart building platform. It's not the features of a smart building platform are the machine learning piece and the analytics, but the core of a smart building is really its ability to integrate easily different pieces of equipment into this extra layer, and then normalize that data so that it can be used in an efficient way. So thank you for listening. I'm obviously going to stick around after the presentation as well to answer any questions, and there is my contact information. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Diana to talk about what they're doing at Energy Sciences.
Diana, I should have shared. Yep, good. Just want to make sure you knew you had it.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. So
Okay.
I got screens popping up everywhere. And so good afternoon, everybody. And Connie, thank you so much for inviting us to present on the DTE Retro-Commissioning program. And also we're going to touch a little bit on what we're doing for the Guardian Building project as well. So the DTE Retro-Commissioning program, Energy Sciences is the implementation contractor. So we run several programs for DTE. The RCX program is one of those programs. And so the Retro-Commissioning program is designed to identify and implement operational and maintenance improvements in a building. So we are not trying to drive capital expenses, but rather optimize what's already there. We focus on buildings' HVAC systems and the building automation system, building management system, energy management system, whatever your terminology might be for the building controls tied to the HVAC system. So we do look at trending, and there's a number of things that we look at when we go through the retro-commissioning process. And we were originally only doing commercial buildings, but now we also do industrial as well. So we can look at some process heat, process cooling, steam traps, compressed air, things like that. So in addition to looking at the BAS system. So we focus on optimizing the controls instead of replacing inefficient equipment. And there's two primary tracks, standard and express. The standard is for buildings that use between 5 and 15 million kilowatt hours a year, and express is more for buildings that use 1 million to 5 million kilowatt hours a year. So just as kind of a guideline. So the standard program is an in-depth study of the building automation system that's tied to heating and cooling equipment. The study's valued up to $80,000. It's fully funded by DTE. And it's a pretty robust study. It takes about 9 to 12 months on average, sometimes more, sometimes less, to complete all 4 phases of the standard project. So it's really a pretty deep dive into system optimization. So with the express track, it's a much quicker process. The program team spends a day on site with the customer's controls contractor, and we work to identify specific energy savings measures, and again, tied to the BAS or process. And again, it's a much quicker, easier process than the standard, and it typically takes about 6 to 8 weeks to complete. Again, that's in general. And the controls contractor, once we identify the measures and the customer agrees to implement the measures, the controls contractor then implements the measures for the team. And then DTE pays for the whole study and the cost to implement the measure for a fixed fee. There's a $2,000 fee that is paid to the customer or directly to the controls contractor. It's up to the customer how they want to do that. And then additionally, for both the standard and express tracks, there's an incentive of 4 cents per kilowatt hour for verified savings. And so we do pre-qualify for express. We have to meet a minimum target of 50,000 kilowatt hours. So we do pre-qualify to that. And on the standard track, we have to hit 250,000 kilowatt hours minimum. So provided we hit those minimums, which we do a lot of work up front to pre-qualify them and make sure that we can hit those minimum targets. And then at that point, the incentives are paid out at the end of the project, so long as we hit those minimum targets. So let's change gears here a little bit. So that's kind of a really brief overview of the program, the DTE RCX program. So now I want to kind of switch gears and talk specifically about the Guardian Building project. So in my mind, I spend a lot of time, every presentation I do, I talk about collaboration, because in my mind, collaboration is always the key to a successful project. And we are delighted to be working with KODE Labs on yet another project. We've worked with them on a lot of the DTE RCX projects and also other projects. And they've been a really valuable partner on the RCX projects, working with Bedrock and some other big customers. So, and Sarah from GBA, gosh, Sarah and I have known each other for a long time, and we've collaborated many times over the years. I consider Sarah to be a very good friend, and Nick and Connie, and we're thrilled to be working on this project with Sarah. And then I also want to thank Shannon for having the foresight to get the Guardian Building involved. So our team is excited to work with Shannon and Rick and her team with the Guardian Building on the RCX project. The building uses over 5 million kilowatt hours, so it meets the criteria for a standard project. Our engineering team reviewed the preliminary Q&A form there, which is the first step really in getting a project approved. So we went through the preliminary Q&A form and evaluated opportunities for optimizing the building management system by looking at specific screenshots from the BAS. So obviously the work that Sarah and Nick have done, contributed to us being able to vet those opportunities very quickly. So we also interviewed staff at the building to gather information about their systems, their equipment, their hours of operation, many other questions, and consulted with KODE Labs regarding the availability of data. The HVAC systems at the Guardian Building, as you've heard already and heard quite a bit about from Sarah and Nick, the systems were a bit complex, or are a bit complex, and so it will be very interesting as we begin to uncover those opportunities for the BAS optimization. So the system at the Guardian Building consists of air handling units, makeup area units, fan coil units, variable air volume for air distribution. There's also city steam heat exchanger to hydronic loops feeding the coils for heat, and the chillers provide chilled water to the coils for heating. So a lot of complexity going on there. In this beautiful building, I love these pictures. So we're currently in the very early stages of the DTE RCX standard program at the Guardian Building, and having completed the application phase, we'll be starting the investigation phase very soon. We're in the very preliminary stages of it, but some of the measures that we've identified so far are listed on the slide. So scheduling, adjusting or repairing economizers, air pressure set points, adjusting water loop temperatures, and normalizing temperature set points on units and spaces. So those are some of the very preliminary things that we've identified as targets. And so customer benefits for the DTE RCX program and the retro-commissioning process in general, of course, reducing operational costs and energy usage, assurance that operations meet the owner's needs. Extending the equipment service life is really important. Capital equipment is very expensive. Improved integration of building systems, improved indoor air comfort is, as we move people back into buildings, is very important. And also extra incentive bonuses, the 4 cents a kilowatt hour. It's kind of nice to be able to give customers a free study, the savings that resulted from the study, and then also a check at the end of the program. So thanks so much for taking the time out to learn a little bit about the RCX program. I'm happy to answer any questions, always available via email or phone, and that is my contact information.
Great, thank you, Diana. Thank you to all our speakers. And Kendall, do you have some questions that we want to get through maybe?
Yep, I had 2 questions in the chat that I'll read, and let's see here. Pull this up. So the first question was directed more towards Sarah, but any of the speakers can chime in. After they integrate existing systems, is there a need to convert to their system? And if the person who asked the question would like to expand on that or come off mute, feel free. But Sarah, that was directed towards you after your presentation.
Just to gain some further clarification, convert to what system?
So is your system, sorry, Barbara Heller.
Hi, Barbara.
So when I was looking at your slide, our security access control system is done by security. It's not done by museum operations. And so I don't, would we still use our vendors for those? Is your system just giving you the overall insight, or do we have to convert to your system as the only system? Okay.
I do understand your question, Barbara. Thank you for clarifying a little bit on that for me. Typically, we'd have to do an evaluation of your system to determine if we're able to access a lot and to integrate into that security system or not. So that would be the first step. We'd want to perform an evaluation to see what you have going on there and to see if it's a proprietary system that we can access. If we cannot access, then it'd be our recommendation. If you're looking to make improvements or upgrade your existing security system, we could assist you with looking at a couple different options of different systems that we provide that are non-proprietary systems that we could help you with as well. And from there, we could pull in all those different pieces to integrate into one screen that you'd maybe like to see for view for ease of use.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, our security system is a brand new system that they just finished this year installing. So
what type of system is it, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know the name of it, sorry.
Okay, we can always have another conversation offline.
Yeah.
But by the
And
way,
our operations
RCX
managers
there
with us.
too.
Yeah.
With that,
I'll bring
Diana?
up this real quick. Integrating access control systems can improve HVAC efficiency as well. So what we've seen in the past is by bringing in, if there's card readers involved, we're not going to know exactly who actually came into the door, but what we can see is, okay, this is when people are coming into the building. So maybe we can actually tune our schedule a little bit so that we're not, wasting energy. Just a thought.
The museum is a totally different entity because we have 24/7 and it has to be stable 24/7.
Of course,
The
yes.
relative emitting temperature. So it's not, yeah, the other savings are efficiencies, et cetera, but not necessarily timing. We can't turn our heat off or lower in the evening when there's no visitors.
Yeah, compromise the
Right.
artwork at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna chime in and say we are doing the DTE RCX program at the IA, so.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, Barbara, I'd be happy to talk with you further about it if you'd like to take the conversation offline.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks
it'll
for the
be
question.
Cedric Alexander and I. He's on the call also.
Okay, fantastic. I've met Cedric before. It's been a few
Okay.
years, but. Oh, there's Cedric.
Hi, Yeah, thanks for the question, Barbara.
Thank
So
you.
the other question,
you.
which is in the chat, I'll just read it. This is from Bob Matler, and this came up during your presentation, Diana. Any insight related to incorporating indoor air quality monitoring systems? For example, that detect specific pathogens, bacteria. This may have actually been for all of the speakers. It just came up during your presentation. But bacteria and gases such as type A influenza, COVID virus, Legionella, bacteria. Wow, Bob, you listed a lot in here. I won't read through all of those, but yes, any of the speakers that can help answer that question for Bob.
Yeah, I mean, typically that would not be part of the necessarily RCX process, but in general, because it's more, capital equipment, but to put in a new type of system. But I know there's a lot of stuff that we're doing for indoor air comfort, for example. But as far as indoor air quality, I think anything that you can do to optimize the building controls is good. But as far as those types of systems, we are not really working with any of those types of systems right now. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot coming on that. And Sarah, you can probably talk to that more than any of us as far as what you're seeing.
Yeah, we do install quite a few of those air monitoring systems. And actually, a lot of the drawings I've been looking at most recently are starting to not require, but I'm starting to see them more frequently in our drawings, particularly in a lot of the school districts that we've been doing work in, looking at doing more air monitoring systems in those facilities. But I do see that more recently, like I said, we've been seeing a lot more of those pop up in our specifications, that buildings are starting to require these air monitoring systems to make sure that they do have, good quality air, that are hoping to filter out some of those, viruses and organic compounds and things like that that may be found in the built environment. I know Jim Newman, Bob, I know that you are on the call here about Bedzek, I think is the last name. Jim Newman is also on the call, and I would strongly suggest he'd be a great person to talk to about airflow station monitoring. He's very well versed with that in that particular regard. So I would suggest you maybe contact Jim offline, maybe have a conversation with him. He can probably provide you with a lot more insight than I'll be able to. Nick, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what you said, Sarah, is what we're seeing as well. In our projects in Canada and Australia as well. Indoor air quality has become a really hot topic. Everything you've got listed there, Bob, is certainly things that are being tracked. And then that information is being used in other ways too, other than, making sure that the building is obviously within the quality standards, but we can reuse that data to optimize the outdoor air intake for the equipment. So making sure that we're within our control standards, but as long as we're within those, then we can tune how much outside air we're bringing in to make sure that we're not burning up too much energy. So, and a lot of these things, a lot of those things you got listed are available as IoT sensors as well. And so we've seen both types of integrations. We've seen sometimes integrations come through the BMS, but we've also seen integrations through an API as well for the data.
All right, well, those were all the questions that were submitted in the chat. I just wanted to open it up to see if anyone else would like to come off mute and have questions. And sorry for my mix up, Bob Bedzik and Bob Matler.
Yeah, feel free to turn your cameras on and say hello or ask any more questions. Thank you to our speakers. We're coming up to the 1 o'clock time, but everyone's welcome to stay on and say hello, since we don't get to see each other anymore. Barbara, are you raising your hand or clapping?
Clapping.
Okay, good. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Michelle. Hi,
Hi,
Fred.
Michelle. Hi, Peggy. Hi, Fred.
I'm going to stop recording now.
Hey, Diana,